Hey, Collective, we've got messages from the Morrigan tonight. Not quite sure. Oh, okay. Say not quite sure exactly what she wanted to talk about, but the significator that I got while I was meditating and shuffling prior to this was the star. And the vibe that I'm getting is, how do we connect with the goddess? Whether that is our own patron, like she is in my case, or whomever it is that you work with, or if that's just the archetype. It could be the anima within oneself. So, however that applies to you, and we saw the Queen of Swords here plop out, and I've got the Thoth Tarot tonight. And I've always really enjoyed this depiction of the Queen of Swords just because of how ruthless it is. It really reminds me of there was a Medusa statue, I think back in 2018 ish, whenever the Harvey Weinstein trials were, but it was Medusa holding the head of Perseus rather than the typical depiction that goes along with the myth. And that statue, that art installation, was set up right outside of where the trial was being held. So very pointed display. And this is a very similar image in that she's holding a head, and there's also another head atop the throne here. And the way she's got that reverse grip on the sword, it's very battle ready, which to me just screams the Morrigan. Let's see if we can get any more detail, more how do we connect? And for those who may not be familiar, and you might hear me switch back and forth between American and a botched Irish pronunciation of her name. Anyway, but her name means the Phantom Queen in English. It's also been translated as the Great Queen. And she is a goddess of prophecy, fate, inciting warriors to battle, war, and death. And the imagery is coming out pretty literally right now, but I think of death as that transformation, and a big reason for that is how I met her, and that was through a near death experience. And that was an enormous transformation in my life of reconnecting with my faith, reconnecting with practices that I had long put into the closet, just because of things that were going on at home. And, when she comes forward like that, it's pretty hard to ignore. Uh, I thought I knew what the phrase the fear of God meant. I didn't until then. That was a pretty intense experience, to say the least. I don't think I've landed on the right question here. It's like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I've got the answer. The answer is 42, but what's the question? So this could be a call to connect with that more, the warrior side of self, of enough is enough. The star is the Aquarius card, that's the humanitarian, and that is very fitting to things we're seeing go on in the United States of just enough is enough. We can't just sit idly by. I'm certainly not advocating for any kind of violence or harm or anything like that. It's just whatever fighting the fight means to you, whether it's protesting, whether it's um, making art, making posters, however that takes form, figuring out what your role is in this war, because that's what it is. We haven't declared war or anything in the States, but there's a war on our people here. I mean, people are getting snatched off of the streets. We've seen this happen before, and we took a pretty harsh stance when this was happening before. And so just figuring out, where do you sit in this? It's like those hypotheticals that you ask yourself. What would I do if I was in Yahtzee, Germany? Like, how would I respond to that? Well, this is the time to answer that question. And connecting with the goddess, like, I feel like the first thing that comes to mind is often very like love and light and peaceful and so on and so forth. There is a time and place for that. I don't think it's right now. You definitely want to strike that balance between things, and maybe deepening your exploration of whatever deity you work with. If you do, like Aphrodite, for instance, she's not only a goddess of love, she's also a goddess of war. She had a cult center set up right next to Ares in Sparta. But how about another card on Queen of Swords? Help lead me down the path here. Oh, and I can also mention the imagery that I got during meditation. It was intense, as Morgan often is. Um, a stone dragon, a wood dragon, a spark, like just the little flicker that might fly off of a candle or something. If you sage, you might see like the little sparks come off. Um, and at least two, but it seemed like more cloaked horsemen. And they seemed very, like it reminds me of the Nazgul for the Lord of the Rings fans out there. But they were white cloaks. So if that resonates with any of you, if that's important to you, maybe there's some significance there. But it did seem like a row of horsemen and very unsettling. Strife. Okay, yeah. Five of Wands. So gearing up for something really big here, which I feel like so many of us are feeling just in the vibe right now. There's just like kind of an electricity in the air. At least that's kind of the murmurings that I'm getting. And very non-specific. It just feels really charged right now. Which, why wouldn't it be, with the things that are going on? Uh, oops, still, maybe. Um, so Five of Wands, that's conflict And of the fives, the most combative for sure, because in the Five of Swords, there's like a couple, two, three swords that have fallen on the ground, and then another person is kind of like smugly looking back, like I've won, and they're holding other swords. But in the Five of Wands, in the Rider Waite, like people are really fighting, like they're going at it. And we've got, it looks like the planetary symbol for Jupiter looks like Leo down here. So one more clarifier here on the nature of this conflict, because we're clearly gearing up for something. And this doesn't only have to apply to the macro scale. I wonder if it's coming out this way just because she's a tutelary deity, and so like her scope of concern is quite large. Uh, but on the macro scale, you could be fighting for something you really believe in your personal life, whether or not it's related to that greater picture I was talking about. But no more Mr. Nice Guy is what just popped into my head. And, take that how you will. No more Mr. Nice Guy, gal, they, them. Either way. Oh, but it makes me think of like something that you know in your heart is right, but maybe the people around you aren't being terribly supportive of you fighting this fight. It could be, well, should you really be taking this on right now at this time? Uh, it could be someone trying to get you to lay your sword down in like somebody else will take care of it, like somebody else will take up the charge. And the road to hell is paved with good intentions. They might mean well, they may not, and that is what is like stuck in my craw, is that you're standing up for something and there's someone in your life that's trying to like, well, I'm just looking out for you, but with their own agenda. That's just the vibe I'm getting. I don't know why. One more, please. A little quiet today. Maybe freshen up the energy a little bit. Maybe dial in the details a little bit here. About who's involved, what is involved. Oop, that's too many. Going for the wonky one. Knight of Wands. Okay, this is coming in hot. Uh, mm, this is like real time, present time, and reminding me of the knight in chess for some reason. I don't know why this one specifically. Maybe it's that posture. But whatever this conflict is, and she's in very receptive, like empress posture here. You can see she's holding the head, and there's another head up there. So maybe this is something that's been ongoing. And like what I was kind of talking about with the bigger example of things that are going on here, that it is a war. Maybe you are several battles into whatever this metaphorical war is in your life, and another one's right around the bend. Over here on the left, what's what do we need to know about this battle? It's the first just anchor hook into that. What do we need to know? Um, More about the Morrigan while I shuffle. Some of the animals that are sacred to her are the wolf, the eel, the crow, horse, and cow. Cow and or bull. I don't think the bull so much as the cow. But she is a shapeshifter, is another one of her attributes. So considering your tact as you go into this battle of maybe which of those power animals, spirit animals, however you want to phrase that, uh, what archetype of those, what of those qualities would be a boon or a bane in this situation? Because it's one thing to consider what is beneficial to you in like strategery when you're going up against things, but it's also really important to consider the pitfalls, like the your weak points and stuff like that. We've got the Eon in reverse, the world. So something that's not quite finished yet. And I mean the moon and the sun, I see those as a pair. In this deck, this feels like a pair to me. It's just like the god and the goddess, and however you want to interpret that, whether you do deity work or look at that as an archetype. But and a big part of it is the explanations in this book. This is one of the books I have for this deck for the Thoth Tarot. It's very uh involved, we'll say. But we've got Horus here on the throne, and it's making me think of Osiris and Isis and that pairing. So something that's keeping this cycle going is an imbalance. There's some sort of imbalance somewhere. I'll dig further into that. What's going on with this imbalance? Because the first place I think to look would be within the self. Where is there an imbalance within self? If this situation is reminisce of something that you've gone through before, or it's tapping on any nerves, things like that, might want to do a self check for dissociation. Are you checking out? Are you And there's like sneaky ways that that shows up. It doesn't have to be like a full blown, you're slipping into a flashback, things like that. It can be just being really distracted, kind of being on autopilot. Maybe you're scrolling more than usual, uh, slipping into bad habits. I know I can tell when I'm getting stressed or overwhelmed or so on and so forth when I lean on takeout too much. That's definitely a pitfall of mine because it's the easiest thing in my day to offload labor, if that makes sense. Like, because how I feel managing, chronic illness, PTSD, whatnot, my energy levels really vary like day to day. I might feel fine going to bed one day, and then the next day I'm just like tanked out, and I have no idea why. And if I don't have leftovers available or whatnot from whatever I've made, I might not have the energy to cook, and then I lean on takeout. And if I'm stressed out, I might not be making the best food choices as well. So it's kind of a double whammy. Oh, here we go. Change. Two of Pentacles. And looks like this is, we've got the sign for Capricorn and Jupiter. So something does need to change. And it flipped out when I was talking about my own bad habit of recognizing a pitfall of stress. So something to fortify yourself against bad habits, whatever that may be. Uh, Another example, when I was uh, quitting smoking, and that is the hardest thing I've ever given up twice was cigarettes. I had to give up coffee for quite some time because of the association I had between cigarettes and coffee. Because I do fine throughout the day without a cigarette, but then first thing in the morning when I'd had coffee, that like craving would get really out of control and then the cycle would continue. So I switched to tea to break the association. And then eventually I started drinking coffee again. But I had to give myself that break from it, that space to break the association. Just want one more. So what do we need to change? What's out of balance? And the two of pentacles, I mean, we were talking about balance, and that's a balance card. Like in the Rider Waite, the individual on the card is like juggling those two pentacles. They've got the lemniscat, the infinity symbol, wrapped around it. So this could feel like the never-ending cycle. It could be repeating relationship patterns of maybe going for partners that you've got chemistry with, but low compatibility with. That's a tough one. Of like, oh, that one really wanted to come out. But just of a like, there are some things that just could be resolved by a constructive conversation. But if you can't even get to that point, it's like a DOA, it's a non starter. But we've got the Knight of Swords here, and it did its little loop de loop and landed sideways. So I'm reading this as emotion. And this is the second fastest knight in the deck. So, in terms of the conflict, like I said, that was coming in hot. And then this, in terms of balancing whatever it is that we need to look at, we could go either way. We could maybe act recklessly and make a move within whatever this battle is or in reference to it prior to balancing out whatever it is you need to balance. So this is the like hold your horses, pun intended. Uh and look at like there's two birds and the knight has wings. Like this is a really fast card. A lot of energy on it. And in this depiction, he's got two swords like going straight in. And maybe these are the two horsemen I saw in meditation. But that this seems like the heed the warning of balance out whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right word for this. I don't want to say like handicap, like because everybody's got their thing. Like nobody's perfect, you know. Like you've got habits that you slip into, and uh, regression is totally a thing. But something needs to be balanced prior to making a move so that this cycle can end. What do we need to balance? How about more on that? What's out of balance? Oh, two. We've got Three of Cups, love, in reverse. Ooh, and that looks like the Seven of Cups, debauch, in reverse. Interesting. So these two cards read very differently to me in the reverse than the upright. And I can't remember if I actually said Two of Cups or Three of Cups when I read this at first, but this is the Two of Cups. So out of balance. Our relationships with other people, and regardless of the nature of that relationship, there's some sort of imbalance. Because I read the Two of Cups as healing through connection, because most depictions have the caduceus, the staff of Hermes, on there. And we've got the planetary symbol for Venus and the symbol for Cancer here too. So very emotional card. And then the Seven of Cups, also we have Venus here. Debauchery, and looks like Scorpio down at the bottom. So that would be illusions being revealed. And this is also my Nefarious card, if anybody works with Goetia. The way this feels is bad. uh, Like seeing through the illusion of someone didn't care as much as you thought they did in the first place. Like you might be seeing the truth of someone's actions past their words. Get another card. But that, since this is the card associated to Nefarious, and he restores lost honors, this could be whatever connection this it was holding you back from what's rightfully yours, is what just unearthed from my subconscious. Uh, it reminds me of the Adjustment Bureau. There's a part in there where they're talking about the main female character, and he's like, if you stay with her, you take her dreams, and you don't achieve your dreams either. Like it was this warning of she would be better off without you. Maybe that is a similar sentiment there of this could hurt a lot, leaving behind a relationship that you know is bad for you. And again, regardless of the nature of it, whether it's romantic, whether it's familial, friendship, whatever, having to leave a long term relationship behind hurts. And so, in motion here, since they fell out sideways, we've got the Nine of Cups, happiness, and the Ten of Cups, satiety, satiety, however you pronounce that. So, I feel like since these plopped out sideways, it's almost like these are hanging in the balance of can you see past the illusion of whatever is going on with this connection, of just like if you've put up any sort of boundary, distance, whatnot, remember why you did that. It's easy to forget after, time passes and you've been moving on with your life and, doing your own thing. It feels sneaky. Like if we bring it back to center of, this is a war, this is a battle, is that a strategic move of some sort? Of, you saw the truth of their actions, you saw beyond the mask, you saw beyond the words. Are they coming back with some sort of sob story of I've changed? um I can't tell you how many times I've heard that in my life, that people have changed, and I took people at their word when I should have been taking them at their actions. That is, oh, it's hard when you believe in someone that they can change and you see the good in them, but careful not to be making decisions on their potential rather than what's actually going on. And flip flop this how it resonates for your situation. I mean, the way most of us speak here in Tarot Land, we're the protagonist, we're the hero of the hero's journey. I mean, it's our life. We're central to what's going on with us, but we're also not always acting heroically. You know, everybody's got a past. Everybody makes mistakes. It happens. I'm suspicious of people who aren't forthcoming with at least like some ounce of humanity. Because I remember what it was like growing up and having an expectation of displaying perfection as opposed to authenticity, and that was really, really hard. But this is the Oracle of Souls. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Hathor. A fitting pairing to the Thoth tarot, staying on theme with Egypt. Mistress of Harmony, mediation, communication, and culture. And maybe Hathor is a goddess you work with, but I'm kind of trying to swim around the feelings here. It does really feel like a time to connect with our goddess, a time to connect with our faith. And I'm not here to proselytize you of, do your thing. If you want to be not believe in anything, cool. If you want to believe in stuff, cool. And Hathor, she's very transformative. She has that shapeshifter nature, like the Morrigan, of Sekhmet was the Eye of Ra, and he tore his eye out, sent it down to the ground, where it became Sekhmet, and she started the carnage against man, for just their folly, their sins, and then Ra became so regretful about his vengeance that it was a mug or several mugs of beer that were dyed red to look like blood. Sekhmet drank it, or them, and was pacified into her benevolent form, which was Hathor. So she shares those shapeshifter and transformative qualities of the Morrigan. And so I think what's being asked of us is who do we need to look to almost as inspiration for a transformation that needs to happen within ourselves? The very last chapter of this eon, and this could be an author you're really inspired by, or um, a philanthropist, or whoever you look up to. It does seem important for this message that it's goddess energy, however you want to take that. And I don't know if that's the transformation that women bring life into this world. That's very, very transformative. The body goes through an incredible amount of changes. but there's more there. It's almost like we're on fertile ground for this change, whatever it is. Like, if we take pause and we really examine what it is we need to balance out, I feel like there's a fruitful harvest on the horizon for whatever that means. If it's a victory on the micro or the macro scale, whatever it is you're working on, standing up for, the time is nigh. And forget the naysayers. You know, it's one thing for someone to really genuinely uh, express concern, but if they're like, "Oh, I'm looking out for you," or what's that? It's the way "love thy neighbor" gets used, like love thy neighbor by making them better, by bringing them over to our side, like make them better. Um, when really acceptance, and if you don't agree with how I view the world, don't agree with it. Like, it's the let them idea. Sleep Now in the Fire, Rage Against the Machine. Very fitting band for everything that's going on right now. Always a classic. I think this came out. What reading was that? Was that Virgo? I think it was. Let me actually get the lyrics for this because I couldn't remember the lyrics then, and I also can't remember them now. But it seems important since it's coming out twice. Go. Oh yeah, a lot of historical references. For it's the end of history, it's caged and frozen still. There is no other pill to take, so swallow the one that made you ill. Oh, so this feels like someone may be coming forward that might be really committed to the status quo, like the establishment or something like that, of this is the way. If you don't do it this way, you're wrong. Like, even though maybe you're doing a 9 to 5, sitting in an office chair is destroying your back and your circulation and is making you literally physically ill, this is the way. This is how everybody does it. So you, lemming number 242, you also do it this way. And your role is to be authentic to you. That's your job. If the 9 to 5 is working for you, great. If it's not, make a plan, explore. There are other ways to make ends meet, to get your needs met. Of the way I put it to my therapist was like, I don't actually need a job, I need money. Right now, the way for me to acquire money is via a job, but like that's the conundrum, is that to pay my bills I need money, not necessarily a job. It's, yeah, just being able to take a step back, look at the chessboard of these battles, this war, whatever it is, the situation that you're in, of what if I tilt it this way and start looking at the chessboard from like a the diamond perspective instead of the square perspective. Maybe I'll be able to see a different move or an available move that way. But overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.